Her humble beginnings date back to February of 1922 in the small village of Valperga in the Piemonte region of northern Italy, a home to much of Italy's working class in its day. A region once plagued by poverty and political unrest and other grave issues that would not provide the quality of life that anybody deserves. Seeing the trials and the tribulations of northern Italy during that time, Mary's parents, Katrina and Pietro, sought an opportunity in a new land. Opportunities for not just them in that day, but to secure a future for their children, their grandchildren, their great-grandchildren, and beyond. This is where the story of Mary Bergera Cavallo began. In order to migrate to the United States at that time, it was much more complex than a simple flight. Instead, it was a 6-week-long journey across the ocean. And although she was only 6 months old during this journey, she often recounts stories that she has heard of her mother suffering severe seasickness, and so sick she could not even care for her young daughter. She was oftentimes cared for by other travelers who were complete strangers. Mary and her mother traveled together as her father Pietro had already left for the States many months before so that he can find work as a coal miner and a home for when she arrived with her mother. Mary's journey on the ocean was on a then famous ocean liner known as the Conte Verde. The Conte Verde was responsible for first saving countless immigrants from hard times in Europe to the United States. And interestingly enough, later this same ship was used to save countless Austrian Jews from Hitler and the Nazi regime to Shanghai during World War II, before eventually being sunk by the Japanese. When Mary arrived to Ellis Island with her mother, the journey was far from over. The train ride first to Chicago and then to southern Illinois was arduous as well. With less than $20 in cash, Mary and her mother, like so many other immigrants, relied on the help and the support of strangers. She recalled a story from her mother that they met an Italian couple at Union Station in Chicago. They were then invited to their home for dinner and a place to sleep while they waited for their train to Marseilles, Illinois the next morning. Imagine our time in our lives where we open our door, our hearts, and our wallets to help people genuinely in need as they search for the refuge of a better life. Mary grew up until the age of 6 in southern Illinois, where she learned the importance that friends, family, and hard work have on making who you are. She recalls times growing up in Spring Valley, where she shared a small apartment with other families, and she would sleep 2 or 3 to a bed. One of her favorite stories, she told me, is that she was one of the youngest of the children, and she was always jealous watching her older friends and cousins as they were getting all dolled up to go out on a Saturday night dancing. At about the age of 6, her family moved into the Roseland area of Chicago. Her father, Pietro, became a city worker where he dug ditches and trenches for trains and railroads. For decades, Roseland was a hub of immigrants from many countries, but predominantly Italian. She attended St. Anthony's Catholic Church for elementary school, where she learned discipline, God, and academics, and helped give her what she needed to be the kind and generous and loving adult that we have all gotten to know and love. When I had the pleasure of interviewing her, some of her fondest memories were times with her family and friends that she had met through her church. And although she attended a Catholic church, she identified as a Presbyterian. Roseland Presbyterian Church was what became her home away from home. She also recounted countless stories of love and friendship from her brother Johnny and her sister Aladine. Roseland, a bustling immigrant town within the city of Chicago, provided shopping, entertainment, and a strong, close-knit, well-needed sense of community. During my life, every one of my grandmother's friends were people that she had met from a young age growing up in this bustling community. Gately's, it was the store of choice, where anybody that was anybody would go for shopping or ice cream or socializing or, just to be seen. Mary recounted it was so popular, in fact, that her sister would ditch school to hang out on the balcony overlooking Michigan Avenue. She also shared a story about how she wanted to get a job there. She was refused multiple times, but she never gave up. She went back week after week after week asking for a job until finally they gave her a chance during high school and they gave her a job earning 25 cents an hour. By today's standards, that's equivalent to about $3 an hour. During my interview with her, she said it was not the money that I had earned, but it was the sense of pride from having a job and contributing to my community and being able to put money on the table for my parents. Let's fast forward past the times of World War II. Mary shared the story of the first time she met her husband, Charles. They walked past each other on the Avenue, as they call it, which is Michigan Avenue, which was the vibrant and lively hub of social activity, economic activity, and social networking in those days for the people of Roseland. They walked past each other, they turned around, and they looked at each other again. And well, the rest is history. She even went so far as to tell me about how she stood him up once or twice before she finally agreed to go on a date. And the only reason she went on a date, the first date, was because she wanted to go out with her girlfriends and nobody had a car. And well, my grandfather, of course, had a car. So that is how they went on their very first date. Charles and Mary would eventually get married in a double wedding with Charles's brother Dominic and his wife Betty. When speaking with her about her wedding date, the one thing she had to ask was who was the kid sitting on the stairs in their first photo as a married couple. It's a modern day photo bomber. Chuck's values of treating people with respect and dignity, and the importance of self-sufficiency, and the value of hard work and commitment to self and family were always evident, and these values still ring true in our family today. Chuck and Mary went on to raise 2 amazing children. They have 3 grandchildren and now many great-grandchildren. As a grandson of Mary, I could not consider myself to be any more lucky than I am. Her enduring love and understanding and wisdom, and of course, cooking, will stay with me always. From the small impoverished village of northern Italy to the big city of Chicago in the United States, we can learn that even though times aren't always bright, although oftentimes we feel like we want to throw in the towel and give up, by listening to the story of Mary Bergera Cavallo and her family, we can realize that by having faith in each other, faith in God, and being an active participant in a strong community, the American dream can be had. For anyone that has had the pleasure of knowing this extraordinary woman, then you know the important lessons we can learn from her, the lessons of faith and persistence and love and humility, generosity, compassion, and empathy that we can take in our lives forever. I am proud and I am humbled that I was blessed enough to have this special woman, Mary Bergera Cavallo, to call a grandmother and a friend.